Hi guys, this is skittflash here, and welcome back to Let's Play Mega Man Battle Network 5. For a second, I completely forgot what this game was even called. Mega Man Battle Network 5 Team Protoman, to be perfectly specific. Because again, the less I mention that, the less I forget that this game has version-exclusive stuff. So this is the last puzzle. The difference there is that this isn't a quizzy puzzle, we have to find something in the real world that is, that actually tells us the number. And apparently it's our dad that made this code, so we had to look for the code. It's a 5-digit code. I'd imagine in a super technological world like this, that would be a ridiculously easy code to hack, but whatever. I'm not one to argue. So we got the work memo, and we get the code. It's going to be 53214, or 41, right? 532141? No, 53214. Okay, I was right the first time. I usually have that committed to memory just because, again, I play this game so much. But yeah, so just, again, rearrange everything into the proper place. 53214. And yeah, should be easy. Again, that one's not a puzzle one. That involves Mega Man and Land splitting up, which rarely... What the hell? I did not do that right. This is what happens when you're not paying attention enough to the game, I suppose. You make silly mistakes like that. But yes, that one's correct, so luckily we gain access to the end of the dungeon, and usually at the end of any dungeon like this, I still call it a dungeon. I don't know what else to call it, a puzzle area or something, but at the end of every puzzle area is a boss, so make sure you save before actually heading up there. We don't have that much HP, and that kind of worries me, but I think we'll do fine. You can edit your chip folder if you want to suit this boss more, which there's not really many chip. We can't really customize our chip folder too much because we don't really have any chips to customize it with. But yes, at the end of every dungeon, I'm just gonna call it dungeon for now, and that's pretty much what they are. If you want to call this game an action RPG, then at the end of every dungeon is a boss. And again, there's one boss and one dungeon per chapter, if you could call it that. So if you could call them chapters, I organized this game into chapters mentally. That will make more sense when this game becomes more systematic, because you'll notice that this game sort of falls into a formula after a while, which I really like. It's nice to actually, have things be consistent. But anywho's, as it turns out, this is Protoman of Mega Man Battle Network 5 Team Protoman, if you couldn't tell. And he wants to fight us, which isn't good at all. Oh, actually, this might be fantastic. We got a good chip setup. So Protoman is a sword fighter. He fights with swords. Oh god, he can actually move into our screen and do wide swords like stuff. So don't think you're safe. Oh man, blew it. It still attacked him. So yes, it's very hard to land chips like that, the chips that do insane amounts of damage. But if you actually know their strategy, like for example, the only way Protoman can actually attack us right now is by using his fighter sword, which has a length of 3, or actually moving on over to our side of the screen and then using a wide sword, which is just like our wide sword. So he can actually... I like to think of him as a mix between Protoman from the classic series and then... oh god, he's kind of wrecking me right now. Luckily we have Roll. He's kind of like a mix between Protoman of the classic series and then Zero from the Mega Man X series, because his whole gimmick in Battle Network is that he's a sword user, so that's why he's doing all the swords and the battles and whatnot. If he jumps over to your screen again, get out of the way, because he's going to use a wide sword. And actually, maybe I can wreck him right now. And wide swords, yes, I used my wide sword before he could use his wide sword. How ironic. But we killed him. Typically in these games, you always fight bosses more than once, so don't think that's as hard as Protoman's ever gonna get, because he has upgraded versions. And in fact, he's pretty chumpish. You fight him in all the other games quite often, even though we're kind of friends with him. We're rivals, I guess you could say. And yeah, you'd be surprised about how easy that boss fight is. I guess he's the first boss in the game. And there's Cod will give you the first story. I don't think his name is Cod. Whenever I play games as a kid, as soon as I see a word, I try to pronounce it instantly, and if I pronounce it wrong, then I'm pronouncing it wrong for the rest of the game. Looking back at it, Cod does not seem like how you pronounce that name, like it might be like Chad or Chod. It's probably Chod, but I call him Cod. I don't care. If someone wants to someone wants to correct me with the correct pronunciation, then I'd be all for hearing it. But I'm just gonna call him COD for now. So, anywho's, it turns out, COD and Protoman were behind this infiltration. Feels weird. And it turns out that yes, it was a test. Um, he tested Lan and Mega Man to join Team Protoman. Title drop. To save our dad from getting kidnapped. Um, to fight the Dark Chip Syndicate and Nebula. That sounds really dropping some story on me right now, man. But yes, COD is a web official. He's like the policeman, I guess you could say, of the place, and he's in fourth grade. I still find this hard to believe. Like Lan saved the world 4 times, and like COD's like a high-ranking official, and they're the same age, and Lan's in fourth grade, and like when I was in fourth grade, I was doing my times tables. Like honestly, like the shit they're doing is just crazy. I mean, like when you're playing this at a young age, you're like, oh, they're in fourth grade, so old. And then like, but when you play it like when you're older, it's like, really? What are these young tykes trying to do right now? They're gonna trip and scrape their knee or something. Um, COD is also a very cold person. He doesn't give a shit about whatever what anyone thinks. He's cool and edgy. That's his character trait, fitting for like the operator of Protoman because Protoman's so cool and edgy. They're a perfect match for each other, right? So, anywho's, we're going home. Okay, that's fun. Yeah, we have nothing to do now, so let's just rest. Because apparently we're gonna be going on, Mike, we're gonna be going on a mission, with Protoman, because we just joined the Team Protoman. That would be more apparent if I actually read what was going on, because I totally didn't read what was going on. Because again, I don't pay too much attention to the story. It's not that big of a deal. Something to note that in Team Protoman, you run into Protoman, obviously, but in Team Colonel, the other side of this game, you run into Colonel and his operator. And again, all the characters are different. And we'll be operating Protoman. And Lan was like, am I really up to the task? And he's like, you defeated the Mad Scientist Wily, his WWW, internet. Net Mafia Gospel, and defeated Regal. At least he acknowledges that we've saved the world 4 times. Thank you, God. You're a nice person. Like, at least, like, he knows our potential, which is very nice. Fitting for our rival, I suppose. But anywho's, we're going to be starting, we're actually, if you read that text that I scrolled through way too fast, we're going to be operating Protoman, which sounds interesting, very, very interesting. And we have mail. How anticlimactic. What is this mail? Be careful! Yeah, right. No, we're not. We're going to save ACDC area from the Net Navi Gospel. No, not Gospel. From Nebula, because they're doing everything. But I'm just going to cut to where we need to go, because this is backtracking. So here we are, where we need to be. Talk to Protoman to initiate this mission, I suppose. So our mission is to be liberating the internet. That's where justice. I don't even want to say it. We're saving the internet from the bad guys. That's pretty much as deep as the story goes. Let's go. But what about that door? How are we gonna get past by being goddamn Protoman? Talk about slice and dice. Because I played this game way too much. So now begins the first liberation mission of the game. There's one for every chapter. Again, if you can assign them to chapters. This is pretty much how I assign chapters. There's one. Every liberation mission counts as one chapter. Before we enter, I kind of want to edit my chip folder just a bit. For one, I want this thunder that I just randomly found, because that's a nice chip to have. Is there anything more B-related we can have? No. Again, we want to be as streamlined as possible here. We want to use a lot of these. I don't know what I want to get rid of. Crack out for one thing. I never use crack out actually. And health recovery. Again, I'm kind of confused here. I'll just cut this. So yeah, I reorganized my folder. So now we have more Ks, well, more cannons and quakes. Because again, the more of one letter you can have, the more likely that you'll have more chips to screw shit up with, and that's very necessary. Especially when doing liberation missions. Liberation missions are exclusive to Battle Network 5. They're very, very interesting. They're probably one of my favorite parts of the game. However, what am I trying to say? Actually, no. This isn't a however. There's a lot I had to explain about this, sadly. All the explaining. This Let's Play so far has been explaining the Let's Play. But liberation missions, is pretty much the whole reason I actually decided I wanted to do Team Protoman instead of Team Colonel. Beside the fact that I grew up with Team Protoman and not Team Colonel, is that I played both, and I honestly have to say, Liberation missions are much more streamlined when you're playing Team Protoman, honestly. And that becomes more apparent when we get more team members. But as of right now, just keep that in mind. One of the whole reasons that I'm doing Protoman is because the Liberation missions are much more simple. So if you want to choose which game to play, I'll be explaining the differences, but just keep in mind that that's a pretty big difference. So Liberation missions are special. First off, they operate on a different time setting, I guess. Notice the custom gauge actually dictates the battle. You get 3 turns. When the custom gauge fills up, you have to actually use it. It forces you to use it. There's no option. It basically signifies the end of one turn. If you still had chips that you haven't used before the custom gauge opens up, then tough shit, you lost those chips. You have to make sure you use all the chips you need to before the custom gauge fills up. And not only that, during Liberation missions, you're only allowed to actually you're only allowed 3 turns, which means that if you don't actually kill every enemy in 3 turns, then that means you actually fail the Liberation mission, and then you'll not liberate the panel, and then you'll have to try again. This game kind of operates like a chessboard, I guess you could say. I wouldn't say that. It's kind of weird. But yes, you choose a panel which you want to actually liberate, and then if you can actually liberate the panel, you'll get rid of it. And we want to carve our to actually beat Liberation missions. It's again very board game like. What I really like about Liberation missions is it sort of combines, like, you know, the Mega Man Battle Network strategy with this new board game strategies. To actually beat Liberation missions, we have to kill all of these dark holes and then defeat the boss. And our target phase is 7 turns, which means after all of our party members go, that constitutes as 1 turn. And if we can actually beat this boss in less than 7 turns, then we actually, like, you know, we luck out. And then we actually we get a special prize for beating the actual match in less than 7 turns. Oh, you screwed me, man. I was hoping that would hit him, because these guys are... I was about to say predictable, but obviously they're not if they didn't do what I thought they were going to do. And again, these guys, they're really fast moving, these mini-bosses, so it becomes kind of difficult. But yeah, just keep that in mind. So yes, that's how Liberation Mission works. Another thing different about Liberation Missions is that placement actually affects how the battle works out. As you can see, we're surrounded by panels right now. What that means is that when we actually get into the battle, the layout's going to be different. We are surrounded by both sides. Very horrible. You press L or R to actually change position. It'd normally be bad if it wasn't for the fact that Protoman I find that Protoman is actually at an advantage during these parts. Because Protoman's charge shot is actually a wide sword, and as powerful as that is, 60 damage. As powerful as that is, that can't really do jack shit to anyone, like, you know, that's not in the front row. But because we're surrounded, we actually pretty much get 2 front rows, which means Protoman has more space to mess shit up, which is nice because, you know. So Protoman excels when we're surrounded. So that's pretty much a thing about, you know, the party members. They have, you know, they have different strategies to them, and that's where the big strategy part of this game starts to pick up, is that we have to decide what we want to do all the time. And sadly, that wasn't I didn't get a counter hit, which is sad. Something to note about this is, right now, Mega Man's Buster kind of sucks majorly. Which means that if you run out of chips, more likely than not, you're not actually going to be doing the Liberation mission. You're not going to be finishing the Liberation mission in that turn. Unlike Protoman, who can probably, like, one-shot Metals with his charge shot because, you know, he's so cocky. But yeah, so until we actually can upgrade Mega Man's Buster power, which will be a bit later in the game, we kind of solely have to rely on chips, which isn't a bad thing. You pretty much have to rely on chips anyways in this game. That's pretty much the strategy. Make sure you have a good chip folder and whatnot, but just keep that in mind. Don't waste your chips, because Mega Man can't really do much on his own. This is where actually Protoman is flawed during Liberation missions. He kind of gets clipped during stuff like this. Luckily we have good enough chips to actually circumvent that. Okay, but as you can see, we had nothing to do besides that. That kind of went too quickly for me to explain it. Basically, Protoman has a shield. That's pretty much to like actually like, you know, balance the fact that he has no range. Like if anyone's in the back row, then Protoman really can't do anything with his sword. By pressing back B, he does his, like, you know, his Protoman signature shield, of course. Which makes it so that if anyone hits his shield, then he retaliates with doing, like, I think 50 damage to the enemy immediately. Meaning that, whoa, what am I even trying to say here? Meaning that, again, even if there's enemies in the back row, Protoman can still fight. It's really a move you want to master, because if you can't do it, and I will admit, as a kid, pressing back B was actually pretty difficult, then you're not gonna be able to do as well as you could do with Protoman, which is problematic because, again, if you can't do the shield and there's an enemy in the back, you're kind of really clipped if you have no chips. So that's something you really want to master. But yeah, that's about it. I will be showing off all the battles and liberation missions just because I feel like this one's special. Like, they're special, you know? You gotta do good, I suppose. I know there's so much I have to explain, which is the problem. I can start with what's going on the screen right now. One turn liberations. If you can kill all the enemies before the in one turn, then all panels adjacent to you actually get liberated. That didn't really have any use because when you kill a black hole, all the panels around the black hole get liberated. But otherwise, damn it. Bonus panels, they don't take up a turn to actually use up, and they give you cool stuff like restoring HP or hurting the boss or giving you order points or stuff like that. You need order points to do the special abilities, like Wide Sword liberates 3 panels instead of 1. Mega Man's ability, every enemy, what am I even trying to say here? every partner has a unique abilities, and this is Protoman's. And yeah, Wide Sword is really cool. You want to do it before fighting a boss. That's what one turn liberation does, by the way. Those 3 panels got liberated because we were able to beat the thing in one turn. You always want to do Wide Sword before actually fighting the boss, so that you fight the boss on fair grounds. If there's panels adjacent to us, like right here and here, then we'd start the boss fight, you know, with a disadvantage, and you really wouldn't want that. Preferably you want to fight the boss with actually an advantage, which means they would have less space, and that'd be really cool. But that's not really going to get done, so just work with what you can get. The first liberation mission, I must admit, is actually probably one of the hardest ones to actually do in a timely manner, because the target phase is actually 5 turns. So what they mean is they want you to actually beat the thing in 5. Ah, damn it. Can I hit him? Yes, I can. Awesome. I kind of wish that got the that would have been really nice if if I got the full synchro. He'd be dead right now. But whatever, you can't have everything. Oh, damn it, I was so close. Not close enough. I really wanted to kill him in that turn, because as I've stated before, well, right now he's gonna wreck my shit because it's his phase and I can attack him. If you don't kill a boss fight, they keep their health, but they will recover 200 health at the end of their turn. So basically, the target phase was 7, but if you can actually beat the liberation missions in 2 turns faster than they want you to, then you actually can then you get an even better prize than you would by beating the liberation mission in the target. For example, if we beat it in 7 turns, then we get what do we get? I'm not even thinking anymore. If we beat it in 7 turns, then we get Blizzard Man's chip, Blizzard Man. But if we were to beat it in 5 turns, then we would have got Blizzard Man SP, which is a stronger version of Blizzard Man's chip, which would have been nice because, you know, more power is pretty awesome. Sadly, we weren't able to do that. What I mean by, because I honestly feel like this Blizzard Man, like this one, the first liberation mission is probably the hardest to get the best prize on, because you pretty much have to make sure you beat Blizzard Man in 1 round with Mega Man, because if you don't, then you're not doing it in 5 turns. I pretty much did like the entire map as efficiently as you could have, but like even so, you still have to make sure that you kill Blizzard Man in one turn. And with our current firepower right now, we simply just you have to get really lucky to make sure to be able to do that. But we killed him in 6 turns instead of 5, so we'll still get the good prize, but not the best prize. And yeah, he's totally clipped. So yeah, I will try. I will be doing the. I will be redoing the liberation mission in order to get the better ship. Probably later when we have more firepower and like we're more likely to actually do it. But anywho's, that was our first liberation mission. We did it. It's kind of again, it's something I can't explain everything. A lot of it is something you just have to play or watch in order to understand. So really, I should stop explaining. But anyways, that was the liberation mission. So in the next part, that was the end of chapter 1, I guess you could say. In the next part, we will be doing chapter 2, I suppose. That's the simplest way of putting it. But until then, this has been skittflash. Hope you've enjoyed watching. Bye.